So are you ready for the worst tenant ever video? And let me just start off by saying it was shocking, as I said in the preview. There's a lot of things that happened. I'm going to start from the beginning and kind of work from memory and then add more parts to it. It may be a part two to this because there was so much involved. First of all, this is a small house, 3 bedroom, 1 bath that I've had for rent in the past. And by far, this is something I've not experienced before. So as I came up to the house, expecting the tenants to still be there, as they said they would, I came up to a pile of junk at the waiting for pickup. And in this particular county in Florida, if it's not in the can, they're not going to pick it up. So that was the first thing that kind of entered my mind, that there was all this junk there. So as I drove in and got out of the car, walking up to the front door, the next thing I saw was there is a steel pole supporting the part of the roof area, part of the patio in front of the house. And I couldn't believe it, but this steel pole was actually dented, and to the effect that it actually had a curve in it. So someone must have just backed up and hit it and never said anything to me. Um, it is going to be very costly to get it fixed. It doesn't have to be fixed right away because it is still strong enough to support, and there were other posts and everything there too, the post that was bent. So it will have to be fixed in time, and not necessarily that it's going to affect anybody that is going to be renting the house. I've already had it professionally checked out. So the next thing I noticed was, first of all, I couldn't enter the front door, any of the doors. I had actually lost my keys, so hoping that they were going to be still be there, that I could collect the keys from them, and no, that wasn't going to be the case. So in that case, and because of that, I went in and I called the locksmith to come over so I can get into the door. While I was waiting for the locksmith, I walked around and noticed that the water spigot to the outside was broken, and it was dripping quite a bit of water, which is not a good thing, not only for this day and age when there's shortages of water, but it was also just dripping and not in a very good location. Also noticed that there was a lot of junk left in the yard, a lot of lawn maintenance that had not been kept up on. So that was another thing that was going to have to be dealt with, and eventually we did do that. So once the locksmith I got there and I got inside, now the real shock begins, because as I was walking around, and I noticed that they had, well, couldn't help but noticing that there was the sectional sofa that was left in the living room. And I thought, well, that's odd, because didn't seem to be the type of people that would want to leave their things behind. And I noticed that there was junk under it. And let me back up a minute. One of the things that happened was this person let family members move in that were not authorized to be there on the lease. And they apparently were very destructive. So, leading that towards what was going on with the sofa, I decided to look and see what was going on with the sofa. And what happened was, as I was moving the sofa, I found a lot of junk, papers, food, leftover food, garbage. And in the state of Florida, if you have that type of situation, you can probably already guess what was being attracted at that point. And yes, indeed, every time that I moved something or was starting to clean up the garbage, you can see what you could probably think about what was running up the walls. Actually, I will show that in just a minute. But upon moving the sofa and seeing that situation, I had no choice. I dragged the sofa, the sectional sofa, out to the front of the yard for bulk pickup, which they did eventually come and get. Then it was the fact of starting cleanup. And as I'm walking around, the next thing that I noticed that I moved the refrigerator out to find out what was going on behind that. And more food, more junk, and as you can imagine, more of you know what was running up the walls. It was a huge infestation and something I had to deal with, something I had to actually get professional products. And that's actually where I'm headed back today, is to give it another spraying so that right now, yes, we are in the clear, but that has to be kept up for a few months to make sure that they never reach or they don't return, because here in Florida, you can only control them. And so next on the list was looking at some other things. I happened to open up looking around, opened up the refrigerator. Oh, yeah, that's another story. The refrigerator was indeed full of just leftover junk, garbage, you name it. And so that took several hours to clean out. Opening up the next thing was the oven. And as you can see in the photo, the oven was disgusting. I've never seen an oven like this before. And it was just so full of grime and grease and everything. It took me quite a few hours to get that thing cleaned out. And this is something I wanted to do because I wanted to make sure it was done right. I want to make sure all of it was done right. So when the next tenants come in, that it is in really, really good shape and not something that I would not live there. If I can't live there, then nobody can live there. I also want to explain one thing too, that all this, what I'm talking about, is beyond the general wear and tear that someone would be considered, that, you know, that it is wear and tear, living in a house or living in an apartment. Wear and tear is, yeah, okay, you got to maybe repaint some of the walls. There's different parts of the walls. You might have to clean up fingerprints. You might have to do some sweeping, some general cleaning, you know, just some general things that, you know, you do expect as someone had been living there for a year. But what I found was way, way, way beyond that, and just so inappropriate, so disgusting. I think the one thing that I have to kind of laugh about at this point is that, guess what? I am sure they took those little things with them to their new house. And I don't wish harm on anybody, but you know, that was kind of a funny thing that I kind of thought of along the way. Another odd thing that kind of happened too, is I had to have the electricity turned back on. My electric company was wonderful, and they had it turned on within a few hours. Uh, I went to turn on the air conditioner, and that air conditioner would not work. The thermostat would not turn on. I'm going, okay, what's going on here? And as I'm fooling around with it, this little panel slipped off, and I saw that it was the place where you put the batteries in. Well, they even took the batteries. Another thing that was of major concern was the condition of the bathroom, and especially the bathtub, which was scuffed, rusted out. Two of the handles on the bathtub were torn off, and there was water dripping from one of the handles that had been ripped off of there. So two places, water was dripping just uncontrollably. So I had to have professional help come in and fix all that. And to end this video today, I'm going to say that I am so incredibly thankful that I have so many people that have been helping me, and especially my daughter, because she has just been absolutely wonderful in helping me get this whole place cleaned up. And my appreciation to you, my dear. So that is the end for today, and part two will be coming up before too long.